Today I am going to share with you what is Facade Design Pattern. Okay, so let's move ahead to see what are the points that I am going to cover. What is Facade Design Pattern in its structural design pattern, and what are the use cases, its code coverage, advantages, and basic understanding of object-oriented programming will be very helpful for you, and I strongly suggest you to watch Design Pattern in C# and Solid Design Principle, and link is given in the description of this video. So let's move ahead. Facade Design Pattern is a structural design pattern which deals with the composition of classes and objects, and these patterns simplify the structure of a system by identifying the relationship between objects. There are total 7 design patterns in this category, and adapter and bridge I have already covered, and the link is given in the description of this video. So in this video we are completely focusing on Facade Design Pattern. So let's first go by definition. So according to the definition, Facade Design Pattern provide a unified interface to a set of interfaces in subsystem. Facade defines a higher level interface that makes the subsystem easier to use, or you can say it provides a simplified way to access complex system. So if I give you an example with its concept, so it will be, you can consider an application that consumes a large number of third-party services or in-house services. In this case, the client needs to know about the details such as data formats, the service metadata, and exact way of invoke the individual service, and so on. So these details might be overwhelming for the client code which is going to consume the service. So in such cases, it would help if the complexities were isolated from the client code, so client can easily consume. Instead of dealing with these subsystems, the client code would invoke some easy to use component, and the component in turn would take care of all the complex interactions with one or more subsystems. Don't worry if these points are not clear, I will explain again and again with an example with a best figure. Okay, this component would act as an entry point of front gate, or you can say it is the Facade 1 for the client code. Thus Facade pattern provides a high level easy to use interface to the client by shielding the different interfaces of the subsystem. Okay, the Facade pattern makes the interactions with the subsystems easy as well as uniform, and I will explain these terms in very detail. And if we implement Facade Design Pattern, so it also freeing the client from those details. Okay, so with this pattern you can emphasize the abstraction and hide the complex detail by exposing a simple interface. Okay, so let's move ahead to discuss by example. You can see on the right hand side, we can see there is a client and there is a mediator interface which we call Facade. It contains 3 operations, 1, 2 and 3, and it is interacting with subsystems A, B and C, and which has some operations. Okay, so instead of interacting with the subsystems directly, the client invokes one or more of the method provided by Facade and gets the job done. So in this scenario, in this picture, we can see Facade contains 3 operations. So when we say by high level, it means that the Facade shields the complex interactions with the subsystems, because we are directly interacting with Facade, not with the subsystems. By uniform, it means that although the design of each system or each subsystem might be different from other subsystem, the client is shielded from these differences. These subsystems might be libraries developed in-house, or they can be third-party libraries. Okay, and when we say by simplified, it means that the client is shielded from complexities involved in consuming the subsystems. Okay, I hope with this basic example it is clear, and now let's take some of the real-time example that we can consider. Okay, let's say for example, if we want to allow a client to search a book by ISBN. Okay, so what will happen behind the scene? It will search all the third-party libraries which contains all the bookseller information, and from where it fetches all the books and shows the best price books at the top by sort by price. We are allowing visitor to search for the books. It then queries multiple services exposed by various book selling websites and grab the piece of book from the individual bookseller. The various bookseller may have different cost of shipping and discount, so your application compares the price offering of each seller and prepare a sorted list, or you can say the lowest to highest of the price offering. You conclude that the Facade pattern can be very useful here because otherwise the client application will be overwhelmed by the complexities and differences in calling these third-party services. From the figure which is given on the left bottom, you can see there is a client and there is a price compare Facade, which contains one method which is compare, and that compare method is further accessing subsystems like service A client and service B client, which contains further method of search books, and these two are further connected with their respective services. So let's move further for a bit more elaboration about this. So we have seen we have a client, we have a compare method with Facade, and we have two subsystems, service client A and service B client. So what actually will happen when we will implement this? The application want to consume two services, service A and service B, and which are exposed by two independent booksellers. Okay, so we are considering service A and service B are two independent booksellers. The service A client and service B client classes are the complex subsystems that invokes a service A and service B respectively. Very easy to understand. They have search book method which accept an ISBN of a book and gets the offering by the specific bookseller. Now the price compare, which is our Facade class, act as a Facade. It provides a high level method which is compare that internally calls the search book method of both the services and compare the price offering. Okay, it is very easy concept. Now the client class, which will be in case controller, deals with the price compare class only, and there is no need to know about anything what service A client is doing and what service B client is doing in the subsystem. Okay, so it's very easy to understand. So now you must be able to relate what we are going to do next. So in the system there will be one book which contains several properties, and we will create two web APIs that will act as a service, and we will create two more clients, those will be consuming them, and one Facade we will create. Okay, so let's see a bit more detail with example. So we'll create one API controller which will be service A controller, and what we are doing here, we are creating app.tb context, and from here what we are doing, from books we are fetching where ISBN is matching and source is bookstore 1. Okay, so what is source here? If I go back a bit more, okay, so source is nothing, it is saying it is coming from the store 1 or bookstore 2. Okay, so it is nothing, it is just the source from where we are fetching the detail. Now similarly we will create another controller which will act like a second service for this demo purpose. It is service B controller, and same thing we are doing, we are creating a one HTTP GET method which is receiving ISBN as a parameter in query, and on the behalf of this ISBN from our books database we are fetching the book where ISBN is matching, and this time store is bookstore 2. Okay, so now we have two bookstore, bookstore 1 and bookstore 2. Now you are guessing right, the next thing will be we are going to create a consumption of these services. Okay, so that will be, you can see service A client, what we are doing here, we are receiving ISBN, okay, creating HTTP client here and setting its base address where our API will be hosted, and in default request header we are accepting and we are adding media type with quality hazard value which is application JSON. Okay, and then what we are doing, we are simply receiving the response from client object.getAsync method where we are specifying the address of our URI, that will be API, service A and ISBN, and we are calling .result which will be received by HTTP response message, and at the end we are converting that result into JSON data, and then we are parsing that JSON data into a book object which will be returned by this search book method. Okay, similarly we will perform for service client B. Okay, search book method is also here. Here we are also setting the same properties, its base address, we are specifying media header value, its response, and returning the book. So we have two service ready, two service client are ready. Now it's time to create a Facade. Now we will create a new class which will be price compare. In that we are creating two instances of these two service client. Okay, we are not calling the service directly, we are creating instance of client, and those two clients are calling the search book method by passing ISBN, and after receiving the book A and book B, we are creating a list of books and we are adding these two books in this list, and then we are sorting by specifying a type of delegate and passing these two book objects B1 and B2, and we are sorting. You can see here we are calling the list method books.sort, and we are sorting by price. You can see here B1.price compared to B2.price. Okay, now every class is ready, service is ready, and client is ready. Now only thing is remaining is the consumption of this price compare class. So we will create a one action method that will be search. I mean, you can create it anywhere, it depends on us how we are going to implement. So we'll create a instance of price compare class, and then we are creating a list of books object, and what we are calling the compare class compare method. Okay, the comparer dot compare and passing the ISBN simply, and it is returning the view, and we are passing the books object to this results view. Okay, so now the final step will be we have to create a view for search interface and for the result interface. Okay, so let's move ahead. For that, what code will look like if we will create a search interface. So it will create one input type which will be ISBN and one submit button for search. So it will look like this. Okay, and now one interface will be like this, where we are specifying our model that will contain the result, and in that result we will be seeing ISBN, title, price, and source, and the purchase URL, and that will look like finally like this. Okay, so this will be the result window. So I hope the whole concept, the whole idea of Facade Design Pattern is very clear for you. So let me show you what I have prepared for you. Now you can see this is my Visual Studio, and the application you are seeing, it is ASP.NET Core web application with entity framework, and this is the same application that I was using in my ASP.NET Core tutorial. Okay, so this application is very much similar what we really want to achieve. Let me run this application, how it is looking like as of now. As you can see now, we are already showing all these value like book title, publisher, author, price, source, and purchase URL. You can hide this section, it is pretty easy. I am considering you have basic knowledge of .NET Core application or .NET Core MVC. If not, the link is given in the description. Okay, so this thing is already prepared and it is working. If I click on create, so you can see I can create a new book, and if I want to make some modification, so edit is also working here, and if I click on details, so details are visible here. If I click on delete, so even I can perform delete action as well. Okay, so let me close this window. You can see maximum stuff is ready in this solution. You can see this is our book model where we have all the required properties that we want to use to implement Facade pattern. This is our book controller, it contains all the required options that I just shown you. This is our book context, it will create automatically your database as well, and don't worry about the piece of code. The Git Repo link is given in the description of this video. I strongly suggest you to take this code on your machine with the help of Git Repo and add some controller that I shown you in the example, and just implement that. It is very easy and you will enjoy that. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation where I want to discuss what are the major advantages and few important questions that you must be thinking. So let's go back to the presentation. Okay, let's move ahead from here. Now the very important section of this video is what are the key advantages of using a Facade design pattern. If your system consists of many subsystems, managing those subsystems become tough and clients will find it difficult to communicate separately with each of these subsystems. In this scenario, Facade patterns are handy. Instead of presenting complex subsystem, you present one simplified interface to client. The approach also supports weak coupling by separating a client from the subsystem. You have already seen we are not directly communicating with the service client, we are just dealing with the comparer, which is our Facade. It can also help in reduce the number of objects that a client need to deal with. You can create any number of Facades for a particular system. So this system not bound you to you need to create only one Facade. You can create a number of Facade. It depends on the structure, what kind of system you are using. Okay, so next question can be, what are the challenges associated with the Facade pattern? So subsystems are connected with the Facade layer, so you need to take care of an additional layer of coding that increase your code base. When the internal structure of subsystem changes, you need to incorporate the changes in the Facade layer. Developer need to learn about the new layer, how to use the subsystem or API effectively. And one more important point is, how is Facade different from adapter design pattern? I have already discussed that pattern as well. So in adapter pattern, you are trying to alter an interface so that your client do not see any differences between the interfaces. But by contrast, Facade pattern simplifies an interface. It presents the client with a simple interface to interact with instead of a complex subsystem. I hope you enjoy the video. If you have any question, any comment, you can leave in the comment box. Your feedback is as usual always important, and that's the only inspiration for me to create such videos. I will see you in the next video with some new learning. Till then, bye bye.